Gingerbread monsters. That's a novel.
They're actually shortbread nurses. The girls wanted to make them nun-shaped, but I thought that might be seen as disrespectful.
Sister, you're knocking that back like a stiff gin.
I've never had a stiff gin in my life, which isn't to say I wouldn't like one now.
Before you look askance, I'm not going to say anything negative about our planned expansion into the world of silver trays and lacy pillow slips.
I'm glad to hear it.
What I am going to say is this. If the staff nurses at the Lady Emily all look as dainty pink and white as a posy of carnations, I really don't think the order can go there dressed in medieval hand-me-downs.
I don't disagree.
I've got the number 43 in mine, which means it was previously worn by Sister Ermengarde, and she died of old age before the Second World War.
Exactly.
You aren't arguing with me.
Dr. Turner's surgery. How may I be of assistance?
Miss Higgins, it's Sister Hilda.
Oh, Sister Hilda, how may I help you?
I'm telephoning on the cadge, so to speak. Next time you're throwing out any magazines, would you mind passing them our way? I'm talking specifically about periodicals from the more groovy end of the spectrum.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the term groovy, but I could offer you Woman's Realm and The People's Friend.
I was rather hoping for tidbits.
Might I remind you that this is a doctor's surgery and not a beauty parlour on the King's Road?
Of course, Miss Higgins. I stand corrected.
I think it's best if you don't linger by the coat stand. Miss Higgins is in an acerbic mood.
What's wrong with her?
Oh, words have been had with Nanata's house. It wasn't to do with medical matters.
Read another. This is jolly good fun.
Mothers, beware. My 3-year-old niece recently locked her mother in a cupboard by mistake, and she had to wait for my brother-in-law to return from the office to get her out again. Fortunately, they all saw the funny side. Miss AC Brackett's Wimbledon.
I think they're not renting a room out to any tennis stars. Centre court will be empty.
Do people really have nothing better to do with their time than to write such banalities into women's magazines? I'm surprised the nation hasn't been driven to narcolepsy.
Tell us again about the Beatles' favourite family Christmas gifts. I enjoyed that. They're like important matters for the woman about town. Don't you agree?
Third trimester, severely obese. I told her she just needs to eat less.
Only a colleague of mine was reading a recent study on latent diabetes in pregnancy.
I am aware of the study, and I would caution your colleague, in the strongest terms, against confusing her patients with complicated theories.
I would be more than happy to bring the sacrament to you, sister, during or after the service, whichever you would prefer.
You are offering to bring me the communion for the sick?
Absolutely.
So, you are under the impression that I am ill?
Well, no,
Or
but...
perhaps you offer the Eucharist as a viaticum for my final journey to the beyond?
I merely meant, given your current situation...
Despite my situation, I can assure you I do not yet require the last rites. I may be verging on decrepitude, but I am not yet dead.
She needs a desk lamp and an alarm clock.
Who does?
Pupil midwife Corrigan, the one who's going to be living in. I'll use my initiative and go and look in the charity cupboard.
This one's no good at all, Fred. My feet can scarcely reach the pedals.
Shall I see if I can lower the saddle? Either that, I'll have to put blocks on the pedals.
Mrs. Greenie had preeclampsia with her first baby, pupil midwife Corrigan.
Oh, you never did. You poor thing, you.
It's on her co-op card.
7 weeks in St. Cuthbert's. You'd get less for murder.
It was rush in the hospital. It's like I only had one switch. And even now, I'm stuck on high-speed mode. Race you to the bike shed.
Afternoon, Nurse Anderson.
What you doing here? You brought me a sample to analyze?
Sister Monica, you going to join us?
I cannot excite myself about cohorts of men from assorted climes careering around a field in pursuit of a bladder filled with air.
They play with leather footballs nowadays. Chop chop, you might want a tin of tea time assortment.
North Korea.
Hey, don't forget your flag. I painted them all by hand.
And it's still 0-0 between England and Argentina after 76 minutes. Peters. And it's a goal to Jetta! A header to the bottom corner of the goal. And it's 1-0 to England.
Come on.
Charlton shoots.
Yes! 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 England! 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 England!
We're so lucky to have an artist television. Sister Julienne is kind. Get it straight through up onto the platform and then everyone will be able to see.
On a screen this size, you'll have to tell them all to bring binoculars.
We can be companions in neglect. Since Nurse Franklin is also to be entertained elsewhere.
I'm actually going to a christening, ill-timed though it might be. My mind is going to be on much higher things than the football.
Only 60 seconds remain. Can West Germany take us to extra time with a last-minute equaliser? Emmerich, and it's... West Germany have equalised in the dying moments of the match. Weber has managed to snatch a last-minute equaliser, which will surely mean this match will be taken to extra time.
I need to ask you about the things I'm planning.
What sort of things?
From the minute I set eyes on you, there was no past anymore. There was only the now, and where the now might lead me.
We would never have met, would we? If we both stayed on our islands.
And I would never know what it is to have my feet on solid ground.
What you doing, Cyril?
This is what happened to the radiogram. And this is where I place my heart. All that it ever was, and all that it will ever be. Will you marry me, Nurse Anderson?
Wiggle your toes. Can you still see them?
Yes.
Then aren't you the lucky one? Honest to God, I've seen some women so big you want to move them around on wheels.
Nurse Franklin speaking.
Yeah, it's Matthew Aylward. I'm calling for professional advice. How do you sack a nanny?
I'm afraid I'm a midwife, Mr. Elwood, not an employment lawyer.
I mean, do you just tell them to go? And then if you do, how do you replace them?
It was the skeleton that I really wanted. It's in the equipment list that they sent me.
Now, that's actually missing one tibia, 2 metatarsals, and several phalanges. I think you might have come bottom in anatomy.
I have fond memories of being terrorized by that skeleton.
Look at you, Master Jonty. Is that chocolate pudding all over you, or are you trying out a new type of face mask?
I've changed 11 nappies since that woman walked out, and every single one of them has leaked.
Oh, dear.
I found wee in his ears on a few occasions. How does a baby get wee in its ears?
Before you fasten the nappy, do you always take care to point his penis downwards?
No. Although, from a personal, well, at least anatomical point of view, that does make sense.
Have you joined another marriage bureau? No. I cashed in my membership at the last one and spent the money at the sales. I would have done the same if I were you. But I'm married to my work and Jesus.
I shouldn't have read that card. I've fallen into sin and keep wondering who Jonty is.
Jonty's definitely a man's name. I'm just wondering if it sounds a bit theatrical.
I'm also wondering what sort of a man sends a woman a Swiss cheese plant.
The question is not what sort of a man, but why this precise botanical specimen? Every bloom has a meaning when presented thus. The almanac has a full lexicon of the language of flowers.
It's a very old book. Has it got Swiss cheese plants?
It has japonica, which this resembles. Loveliness.
It's got a look of a rhododendron about it.
Rhododendron. Beware, I am dangerous.
What's all this?
The evidence suggests you've got an admirer. And his intentions are ambiguous.
Jonty is short for Jonathan, and he's a 6-month-old baby.
Future holds quite where we are flying, or what we have begun.
Please. You are in a respectable medical establishment. Not going 10 rounds with Henry Cooper.
I know I should be waiting for your evening surgery, Mrs. Buckle, but this is rather urgent, and I wanted you to have it as soon as possible.
Well, I suppose I can make an exception this once, but don't make a habit of it, sister. Apologies. That just slipped out. Well, you're not selling them in here. I don't care if you have had a glut of the things.
So you want of your harvest supper?
I don't think so. I mean, the shape. It is really rather off-putting.
This is your pen, Miss Higgins.
I'm hoping that when you use it, you will think of me and try to write more legible prescriptions than your father.
Thank you, Sister Monica Joan. You might like to say grace for us at each mealtime, since you're the most senior person present. In chronological terms, obviously.
Here you go, Tim. The little ones are in bed. A nice civilized dinner with the grown-ups. And your first glass of wine.
Not my first glass of wine.
Oh, yes.
A boy named Partridge smuggled some into the dormitory at school.
I'm glad I didn't hear about that at the time.
I didn't get very far with it. There was a picture of a nun in a blue habit on the side of the bottle. I kept thinking of how disappointed they would all be at Nonata's house.
You can hardly tell I've had to turn the sleeves up at all. How does he look?
He looks about 30.
Your separates are absolutely crawling. And whisper it, but I just saw something jump.
Stop it. Stop it.
There's only one viable course of action. Every single item goes to the council fumigator to be stoved.
The clutch bag's crawling.
I look like a librarian.
I was a librarian in Jamaica. I never dressed like that.
I can go, if you'd rather hide in here.
No. It's an exercise in humility, if nothing else.
Afternoon. You look nice.
I could deliver a baby.
Absolutely not. I think I'd probably run the other way. Because it's not like it is on TV in real life.
If I see someone who is quite largely pregnant and likely to have a baby anytime, I move very far away so that I'm not spotted. Because the idea of being asked whether I could do anything.
Yeah, I'd sort of think, I'd know what maybe some of the stages were.
Not really. No, I think I'd rather leave it to the experts.
There are 1 or 2 young men I wouldn't mind taking home, but apart from that, no.
That's enough. Harry, shush, and you, Terence.
Boiler! These trousers are split. Can you mend them for me? I'm due at the Institute after the Nativity to give presents out to the kiddies.
Your lack of discipline regarding baked goods is not going to alter my list of priorities, Fred Buckle.
Well, apparently, more than half of them are due between next week and Christmas.
What do you suppose was going on in March?
That's for the expectant mothers to know and for us to wonder at.
You can actually do homework in the children's handwriting.
I only did that once in an emergency.
I can neither greet you nor offer you the tidings of the season. For the great silence has descended, and I am mute.
It really is some lovely punch, Sister Hilda. You are quite the dark horse.
I'm not entirely sure I've got the balance of flavours right. Practice makes perfect.
I saw stars, but they were as pretty as you please. Maybe we just have stars in my eyes because I'm in love.
And aspirin. The aspirin brings down swelling.
Is it swollen as well?
Try this, sweetie.